Welcome to the RTD's English News. The top story for tonight are: Djibouti Komeza, the head of state, launched the 31st annual Komeza Governor Assembly. Russia celebrates its national days.
Welcome in our newsroom. The President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, has shared this morning the 31st annual meeting of the PTA Bank Preferential Trade Area of Komeza at the People's Palace. Members of the government, the President of the PTA Bank, Mr. Admasu Tadesse, the Minister of Finances of Komeza members country, has attended this high-level conference. The PTA Bank is a bank being developed for East and Southern Africa and has for objective to integrate and advance the economy of the region. The PTA Bank has financed the cement industry of Djibouti, but it has also intervened in the areas of the trade and in the development of infrastructure. Djibouti will chair for years the Board of Governors of the PTA Banks, and this replaces the Tanzania. The Governor Council is the organ of the PTA Bank, is the decision-making bodies of Supreme of the instance financial. Well, that the PTA Bank is an institution of the common markets for Southern Africa. Komeza, its accession is open to non-members of the space. It also offers a wide range of products and services in the public and private sectors. The PTA Bank, having seats in Kenya and Burundi, operate in more than 20 countries in the world. Including Djibouti, Burundi, the Comoros Islands, Mauritius, Seychelles, Democratic Republic of Congo, Egypt, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya, Sudan, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Belarus, China, Malawi, and Rwanda. On this occasion, the outgoing chairman of Governor Council expressed himself by stating the commitment that has brought together for this event.
When President-elect takes an oath of office, immediately the cabinet ceases to exist. And that gives me, the senior civil servants, an opportunity, and gives me this unique opportunity to visit this great country, Your Excellence, and having an opportunity to interact, going to the port and telecom center and listening to the vision and dreams of this country under your visionary leadership, Your Excellence. We know that this is a country of great possibilities. Let me also, Your Excellence, on behalf of my fellow governors, say a word of thanks, a shukran, to you personally, to the government of Djibouti and the people of Djibouti for the very warm welcome and the efficiency with which they received all of us. We have a very pleasant stay in Djibouti, and we expect to continue to enjoy this hospitality today and tomorrow as we conclude our business in Djibouti.
The president of the PAT Bank has also emphasized the bond that lies between the Komeza countries' members in the fight of placing the regional integration at the front of the discussion in order to facilitate the trade. Let's listen to him.
In his statement earlier this morning, the chairman of the Board of Governors discussed the salient developments in the international and regional economy. We heard about falling commodity prices. We heard about uneven growth rates. In this changed economic landscape, fiscal and current account deficits are increasing and external borrowing costs are rising, even before the US Federal Reserve begins to ramp up the interest rates. Take the case of Ghana's recent October Eurobond issue. While successful with an impressive 15-year tenor and oversubscriptions at that, it was rather costly at 10.75%, considering that unlike other sovereign bond issues we've seen in recent years, it had a World Bank partial guarantee. This highlights the risk of rising debt if not carefully managed. There is no question that in this environment, prudent macroeconomic policies and fiscal reforms will become ever more important, together with domestic resource mobilization, which is an initiative that the African Union has been championing now for some years. Similarly, the region will need to redouble efforts towards structural transformation. Trade patterns continue to reveal an unhealthy dependence on commodities. The robust growth of the last 20 years that we've seen in the region has seen very limited diversification. Value chains have remained unaltered, and most of the region remains at the primary goods export stage of global production.
The Minister of Finance in his speech highlighted for the occasion the growing economy of the country and the 2035 vision. Let's listen to the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Ilyas Musa Dawale, for more detail.
According to the data, Africa is the fastest growing region for foreign direct investment. Some figures say that FDI grew from $3 billion in 1990 to $57 billion as of today. Regardless of which figures one looks to, Africa's growth is tremendous, and global brands are taking notice of the growing consumer market, and so are African brands. Djibouti has been no different from other countries. In 2014, our GDP have observed the duplication, in 10 years' time, has been doubled to reach, by 2014, $1,582,000,000. We are continuously working on improving our legal and regulatory system so as to be more attractive to investors. Additionally, we are working with our neighbors and other countries in the region to facilitate regional integration and trade. We strongly believe that there is a great potential in domestic African market, so we need to take full advantage. As I'm assuming the chairmanship of the Board of Governors of PTA Bank, I look forward to helping support management further achieving the target of the 5th corporate plan. As we have heard from our friends since, we will continue to hear also today, the bank's performance is commendable. However, even more hard work will be needed to achieve the next set of goals. It's up to us as stakeholders and shareholders of the bank's service to make sure that the bank continues to prosper. Djibouti has adopted recently its long-term planning called Djibouti 2035, which aims to transform the country into a commercial and logistic hub of Africa. The Accelerated Growth Strategy and Promotion of Employment 2015-19, called SCAPE, the intermediate program of Djibouti 2035, leading to operationalize this vision, was just adopted by the government on August 2015. These facilities reflect and reinforce the proactive strategy to promote regional integration of Djibouti, which our leadership, Mr. President of the Republic, particularly enhanced. And we believe deepening the partnership with the neighboring Ethiopia and other landlocked countries will be benefiting from such an unprecedented investment. The PTA Bank will be also along helping us to go through, as well as other partners, and it's up to our own commitment to make sure that we are achieving that common dreams of integrated Great Horn of Africa as well as the COMESA market.
The head of state, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, on the occasion underlined in his speech the primary objective of the rendering Djibouti a regional and continental hub. Let's hear the President of the Republic.
le président de la République de Djibouti, chef du gouvernement, Son Excellence Ismail Omar Guelleh.
It's a pleasure to personally welcome you all to Djibouti on the occasion of the first annual meeting of the PTA Bank Board of Governors. We are equally pleased that the bank is holding the 31st annual meeting here at such an interesting time, both for Djibouti, the region, as well as the bank. Indeed, Djibouti has been a long-standing member state of PTA Bank because we are confident in the future of our region and the deep ties we share. Without a doubt, the PTA Bank potential is evidenced by the growth and constitutes both a testament to and a factor in the economic transformation of our region. In 2012, the balance sheet was just over $1 billion US. Today, 3 years later, it is approaching $4 billion US. Ladies and gentlemen, as far as Djibouti is concerned, we are delighted that the bank has begun to actively finance projects in our country, starting with the cement project, among others, under active consideration. There are many development projects here underway, and we welcome your support, expertise, and financing. Undeniably, Djibouti's growth path continues, and we are now at about 6% in infrastructure, transport, and trade as key growth drivers. However, my country is not alone in its success. More and more of our economies in Eastern and Southern Africa are rising fast. In a few years, we expected to see new African lions from our region join the list of the world's fastest growing economies. Already Uganda, Tanzania, and Mozambique are joining other fast-growing African economies such as Angola, Rwanda, and Ethiopia. We are seeing improved continental policy on trade, and as a result, increased trade flows and investment, more productive agricultural yields, as well as growing demand for manufacturing and consumer goods both locally and regionally. Ladies and gentlemen, Djibouti is well aware that for Africa to achieve success, we must work collectively towards our common development goals, whether regionally, continentally, or even globally, with goals such as the Sustainable Development Goals. As shareholders and stakeholders, we need to ensure that our regional financial institutions are supported in order to play a greater role in the advancement of our own development agenda. Furthermore, we need to maintain our political support for integration, advancement of our regional economies and institutions such as PTA Bank that support those goals. As such, Djibouti, as the host country for IGAD, stands firmly behind our collective goals and regional institutions. I wish you fruitful deliberations at today's 31st Board of Governors meeting and officially declare the board meeting open. I thank you.
After the opening ceremony of the 31st Annual General Conference of the PTA Bank, the Minister of Finance and Government of COMESA members countries met to put in place the implementation strategy of the PTA Bank project the next year. Well, that the PTA Banks an institution of the common markets for Southern Africa, COMESA in its accessions is open to non-members of the space. She also offers a wide range of products and services in the public and private sectors.
Still in the national news, the celebration of National Day in African Youth was celebrated today at the Palace of People under the high patronage of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh. Several eminent personalities, including the Prime Minister, the President of the National Assembly, the member of the government, as well as several senior military and civilian officials of the country, and many guests have participated to this important ceremony. These exceptional days has been devoted to the greater wealth of our nation, a day to commemorate the sterling and selfless contribution of young people to the freedom and democracy we enjoy today.
The Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, Badul Hassan Badul, who depicted the past of the country and the tremendous changes and transformations the head of state has made in the place of the youth. Let's listen to the Secretary of State.
Yesterday without real legacy, today rich of its new infrastructure, pouring airport and other major shipyard, a youth well trained and in a good health, we are more than ever proud of our great achievement to the benefit of our community. Your worries is tending to maintain and preserve the social cohesion, improve the social and economic integration of our youth by a policy based on the proximity, the dialogue and the promotion of the inner enormous potential of young people. The access for all to the school and to a quality education, the care guarantee, the availability of the academic training, vocational training, the match between training and employment, entrepreneurship, the construction of the new community development center, play areas, or even of sport complex, the promotion, detection, and taking in charge of young talent are all, if I limit myself to quote, that they for the benefit of our young people that we want to see it flourish. The purpose of all this effort is your wish to see the Djiboutian Youth Army against the horror of unemployment, idleness, and delinquencies and drug. We have find a certain dynamic to the youth capable of seeking new marks, of inventing new initiative, and to continue tirelessly the idea of progress and innovation. The head of state, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, proud of the youth and the Youth African Day, did not fail to remind to improvement of the youth as a future actor of the country. Let's listen to the head of state.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الأمين. Jeunes Djiboutiens, mes chers compatriotes.
I'm very happy for me to be among you to celebrate this African Youth Day, launched a decade ago by the African Union to make the youth of the continent a pillar of development. This day, albeit symbolic, is an opening of our future, since by its through the African Union invites us to project ourselves and to draw a trajectory for the socio-economic development of our country. You, the young people, with the hope of happy days, the hope of man-made, but also the hope of a country which takes to arms the body, the render from its destiny. Your commitment, your will, and your determination to want to be involved in the development of your country is a blatant example. Your concern and your expectation are legitimate. You no longer want that you label as a problem for the country. On the contrary, you want to be recognized as a solution to meet the challenge of our common future. You did not wrong, dear compatriot, and not political leaders. No responsible worthy of the name cannot be the impasse of your availability without discredit himself. I would say even without condemn the entire country. Your formidable strength, Djiboutian youth and young Djiboutian, that's your passion. Your energy is also your sense of creativity and innovation, your capacity for understanding and anticipation. And here too, no one can make the impasse of this strength on your strength without condemning the whole country to the stagnation and even regression, because today, more than yesterday, the youth is the matrix in any society that wants to go to the front, and even more so of our society, or you are not only a demographic force, but also a promise of change against all obstacles and all conservatism. The responsibility for any politician, but especially my responsibility as President of the Republic, is precisely to ensure that this promise that you embody is released here and now in the context, of course, of the general interest of the whole nation of Djibouti, such has always been my primary concern.
The leader of state, Ismail Omar Guelleh, has indicated that the young constitute the hope of happy days, but also the hope of a country. Let's listen to the head of state again.
Mes chers compatriotes, le combat de la jeunesse est un combat de longue haleine.
Dear compatriots, and I have the conviction by your vitality, by the respect and the achievements of your rise, is the prior non-negotiable for any public policy that aims to achieve the sustainable development of our nation, and is by the yardstick of this crucial requirement that it must assess and evaluate the many investments to which the state has made since more than a decade in health, in education, but also in the leisure and culture. The results are undeniable. You are today more famous than yesterday. You are today more knowledgeable and more experienced than yesterday. But in saying that, don't worry, young Djiboutian. This is not a balance sheet. This is only an observation that I ask. The finding of a policy which has produced its effect, but also the observation of an ambition which has been released in the time and in the duration. My dear compatriot, the fight of the youth is a long-term fight. You are, and you know better than me, on a journey fraught with pitfalls and obstacles of all sorts. Like many of the young peoples of the continent, you are confronted with the terrible reality of unemployment. For many of you, it's a frustration, I think especially to those who have degrees and who are suffering from the mismatch between the supply of and the need of the labor market. But I think also to those who have not had this chance of a training and for which it's even more difficult. To all of you, I launch a message of hope and optimism. I invite you to revise the resignation and the inevitable, because you remember where we come from a situation of economic recession which young people were the first victims. At the time, some of our compatriots have left the country, leaving behind their families and their relatives. But today, thanks to God, we could reverse the trend. Our country recorded economic growth in height of 6%. Many of our compatriots in the diaspora do not hesitate to make the reverse path and to participate in the development of our country. My dear compatriot, this observation also I shared with you, for that we are all aware that our country is entering into the new dynamic, but this dynamic, it should be of the orient of the canal. It is at this price that we get out of an anemic growth in terms of job creation, and that we will answer to a generous growth in terms of hiring, mostly for you young people. Of course, it's up to us to anticipate of this new era that announced. That is why we have already begun to put in place the institutional reforms and techniques necessary to ensure that our employment markets adapt to the current change, and taking a series of initiatives in view of a balanced development on the whole of the country, which can have an impact on the employment of the young people. But it's also my belief that your membership is essential to ensure that this new policy can have beneficial effect, because it's by being an actor of your own future that you will contribute to the building of our common future. Djiboutian youth, young Djiboutian, in this time of globalization, of the force of acculturation and standardization, are at work to deconstruct and dissolve the national identity. You have the heavy responsibility to defend, consolidate and preserve our national identity, this identity for which our elders and our ancestors have given so much. Love your country, please be supportive. Together everything is possible. At the end of the ceremony, the head of state and the members of the government have handed over the young winners, juniors and senior winners of the country of Horatio 2015 prizes and awards, as well as several laws consisting of several household electrical equipment have been delivered to these young. Also, discount of awards of the occasion of the grand prize of the head of state to the different associations who have distinguished themselves this year by their different actions undertaken in favor of young Djiboutians, such as Alfonsa and Eva, rewards ranging from a median submitting by the Secretary of State has the youth and the sports to encourage these young people.
And now we have a news release. Because of a bad weather that may impeach employable mega concert of the State Secretary for Youth and Sport scheduled for tonight at the Gule Stadium was postponed for Sunday 8 November 2015. We have learned with a regret of the death of the late Yasin Abdullahi Gili, born in Ali Sabih on 1885. The date had therefore 130 years old and father of 25 children. He has left their wall 3 widows and 226 grandchild. The direction and entry staff of the RTD present our sincere condolences to the family of deceased. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un.
Listen up to this edition in the international level. Tens of thousands march in Moscow as Russia celebrates National Unity Day. Let's watch with more information.
Tens of thousands march in Moscow as Russia celebrates National Unity Days. Thousands took to the streets of Russian capital to celebrate the National Unity Days. While President Putin gave a speech about its importance, the dates marks a popular impressing in that indeed the Polish Lieutenant occupations of Moscow. A huge rally organized by the Civic Temple was held in the center of Moscow on Wednesday. The National Unity Days was first introduced in Russia in 2005. People walked through the street waving various flags and banners, including the national flag and those with the orange and black colors of the St. George ribbon, which became a symbol of the fight against fascism after the World War II. Some of 85,000 people from a number of regions emerged through the streets of the Russian capital and gathered not far from the Kremlin, where a rally and a celebratory concert took place. Participants of the march held a moment of silence to pay tribute to the 224 victims of the Russian plane crash in Sydney. 146 million people, about 200 nationalities, and 17 million square kilometers. That is what Russia is, Alexander Bachelov, the Civic Temple secretary, said while addressing to the demonstrators. President Vladimir Putin said he believes National Unity Days is a very important holiday for Russia. I clearly see that we need such a holiday, he said at the forum in Moscow, as stated by TASS. If we look at our history, we will realize that when we were united, we always gain impressive victory, and when we were divided, faced tragedies, distinguishes, misfortune, and suffering of a million of people. We face false values, criminal ambitions, and nationwide trouble, Putin added.
That's all for tonight's news. Thanks for your attention.